The ideas that gave birth to our nation are the ideas that our nation is resistant to right now, and we should talk about that all the time.
In a world where narratives are shaped by corporations and gatekeepers, independent voices matter more than ever. Badlands Media brings together citizen journalists, researchers, and independent thinkers.
The truth is triggering.
Question the narrative. Explore the facts.
It's authenticity, courage, resilience.
Search for the truth others won't.
It's not about being first or being right.
The information war is changing.
It's about being authentic.
Embrace the friction.
Embrace the friction.
Shut the f*** up.
Authentically antagonizing. Join the movement.
I'm going to say how I feel.
Follow Badlands Media.
This is about the future.
The Badlands. What are the Badlands? Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey.
Are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to Bitcoin!
That's a nickname in its own way, but we came up with a new word for a new couple of words for corn.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up.
Bitcoin stands for freedom, sovereignty, and independence from government, coercion, and control.
Can you quickly tell everybody what a rug pull is?
Yo, we are back. Sorry for that intro rug pull, but we got to cut the intro short. You know, got all these different trademarks for music and stuff. So I'm cutting the intro short. If you want to listen to that song, you're just going to have to go look it up. I think it's called Endor Pump It Up. So go download it on your favorite, app and yeah, see what's up. But I'm down here deep in the Coffey Bunker at an undisclosed location, but I am live right now. And I think it's been like a month and a half. And honestly, like I didn't really miss this too much, but I felt like there's a lot of stuff happening, right? And so like a month went by and like, the Bitcoin price is boring. The normies are totally wrecked. Retail is totally wrecked. Bitcoin normies are complaining about Trump and his shit coins. Nothing has happened. Like it's all the same stuff, but actually a lot of stuff has happened in the last week, right? The Coffey week, funny enough. And so got to interview a pretty cool gentleman. And so we're back. There's a lot of exciting stuff to discuss. And happy Bitcoin Pizza Day, right? We are in it was 2010. So 16 years later, after Laszlo I think he spent up to 40,000 Bitcoin, guys. Believe it or not, I think he bought 4 pizzas. So I think he spent up to 40,000 Bitcoin overall because he left the offer open for a while. But today marked the day. And today's kind of like the official day that a transaction, right, happened for a good or service, right, for pizza. And so that's unique. That's fun. But let's just make sure we're not Q-tarded here, guys. Okay. Bitcoin Pizza Day has nothing to do with Pizzagate. Okay. So 10,000 Bitcoins were paid for 2 Papa John's pizza on 5/22/2010. And Pizzagate is a completely separate deal. Now, Pizzagate is real. Okay. Don't get me wrong with that. But some of the Q-tards try to mix the two together, and they call BTC baby trafficking coin and Epstein coin. And, it's just the stupidest thing on the planet, because why would people want to use a currency that you can track online to do those sorts of disgusting things, right? And so let's use a little bit of logic here. Let's use a bit of common sense. I know it's hard for some of you Q-tards that are still posting about drops and trying to connect, timestamps of Trump. And look, I bet you there's some in there, but every day, come on, guys, what are we doing? You've got the 17th Fed chair in the 17th year of Bitcoin being sworn in on Bitcoin Pizza Day. Like, that is a live, living Q proof. Okay. I don't know how much more QE proofy, Bitcoiny, Trumpy you can get. Right? Tippy top shape. I mean, come on, guys. It's kind of a joke at this point. But let's pay some bills. Of course, we got Deadwood. Deadwood's coming up, you guys. Actually, this is like a month away. So if you guys have not been to South Dakota Deadwood, it's an absolutely cool little town with gambling, with drinking. I will be there. So June 25th through 28th, Badlands meeting back to Deadwood, South Dakota for the 12th stop on the Great American Restoration Tour. Whether you're attending in person or virtually, a GART veteran or virgin, there's something for everyone. Early bird prices for virtual tickets are available through May 15th. Merch packages are now also available for in-person or virtual ticket holders. Get your GART 12 tickets today at badlandsmedia.tv/events. Yeah, so go. If you can't make it in person, totally get it. It's not a very easy place to get to for some of us. I have to do a layover somewhere and get there, but it's a cool town. And if you haven't seen the shows, the Netflix Deadwood show, it's unbelievable. It's a really, really cool show. So check that out. Buy a virtual pass. You can still, participate in the Telegram chats on live with us on stage, ask questions, be involved. So it'll be super fun. It'll be super, super fun. And so what else we got? Yeah, I'm tweeting the other day. Like, what's the point of having freedom money if you still pay taxes to pedophiles? Like, it's funny. And you guys haven't been on the Bitcoin Spaces today? Yeah, it's called Bitcoin Today, and then obviously the X Spaces. I'm usually on there almost every morning. I try to do a couple times a week at least. Today was actually a pretty good session because you can tell people are kind of getting fed up, right? They see Trump getting a total pardon from any previous IRS, issues to any future IRS issues. And so the Goyim are getting a little upset, and they might, and one guy was saying, well, it's these people are addicted to debt. Well, what do you do to a person that's addicted to drugs? You keep giving them the drug, right? You keep complying and paying for them? No, you got to cut them off. You got to cut them off cold turkey. This isn't how this works. And so, yeah, join us on the Spaces today. Those are always fun, but this is pretty funny from I Find Retards. Politics is a crazy game. They just lie about everything and see how many retards they can convince. Yeah, I mean, couldn't say any better than that. How many retards can they convince? Well, quite a few, actually. And Stony Bitson gets it. Bitcoiners who tell you voting matters are absolute fucking retards. All of them. Not paying taxes is the only vote that actually freaking counts. Absolutely. That is absolutely true. All right, a couple more ads, and then we will get to it. Let's go here with Rise Attire.
What up, Badlanders? Are you ready to rock something new in 2026? Well, as always, we got you covered with the Rise Badlands Native Collection. Built from the rich tones and rugged terrain of the Dakotas, equal parts beautiful and brutal. Old roots, new vibe. Whether you got gators in your backyard or you have to take a bush plane to the post office, Badlanders are worldwide. Different dirt, same tribe. Speaking of different dirt, the ghost of base Patrick Henry designed a plan for the border wall that he actually sent to the White House. It's friggin' hilarious. Now you can get it on a shirt, hoodie, and more. And don't forget, every order throws fuel on the fire of the Made in USA parallel economy. So grab something now at badlandsmedia.tv/rise.
Kept $1,600 from you in 2025. You probably didn't know. Now multiply that by millions of Americans. That's over $433 billion in interest the banks kept. Your money goes in. Banks put it to work. They make record profits. You get almost nothing in return. And when they blow up, guess who has to bail them out? So what are you supposed to do? Ask politely? Wait? Accept that this is just how banking works? Or you could put your money where it works for you. On River, your cash earns 3.3%, paid in Bitcoin. Earning Bitcoin gives your money even more room to grow. And it's just as easy as how you bank today. You can get paid, pay your bills, and access your money anytime. Start banking with Bitcoin on River.
Badlandsmedia.tv/river. You will not regret it.
Today we remember those who gave everything. And memory is never still.
This Memorial Day! One hero, one mission to deliver softness to America!
No, Chi-Chi, we can't stop for sex, dude. We have to deliver all of these soft disclosure gift cards.
He goes by Zach Payne.
The motion detector!
Hey, stop fighting over the beer brush.
Life finds a way.
Hydrate your elbows, moisturize your soul. Feel the rhythm together. Makes you feel alive and let the lotion roll. Soft disclosure, hear the cry. Maximum softness, do or die.
Muffin, hit it.
Oh man, AI just gives us the most wicked new commercials for this stuff. So shout out to Zach, doing his little promotion there, and the soft disclosure, guys. If you haven't had stuff, do it. It's absolutely awesome. But remember, we are in the 250th year of 1776. Make sure you get your revolutionary gear. Grab a Pepe Hawaiian shirt, the 17 hat, or the digital 1776 shirt, or maybe even rock a Rugpull radio shirt, right? Make a mask to go down the rabbit hole of Bitcoin. Also, Bitcoin Nashville, you guys can get your tickets. You guys can use code Pepe. You'll get 10% off. And we had a lot of frogs show up in Vegas, which was awesome. And shout out to all the frogs that showed up in their digital 1776 gear, mind you. I have to show a picture of that at the end or something. But we rocked it, and the message is spreading. We're even getting other Bitcoiners involved, like Punchy, right? He's been on the show before. Ex-Air Force F-16 pilot who's doing a lot of good for Bitcoin, helping. He's the guy that connected Jason Laurie with Admiral Paparo, right? So the message is spreading. People are starting to understand Bitcoin as a weapon system. But let's get into the interview. I did have to pre-record this one, unfortunately, but I'll be in the chat, and I'll be here after to actually talk about some of the news, talk about some of the Q proofs, talk about some of the rug pulls, right? It's been a lot in the news, so we'll discuss that afterwards. But for now, enjoy this conversation with Paul. I will share you within the chat. All right, we are live. Welcome back to Rugpull Radio, and we have the legend Paul Rosenberg. Paul, welcome to Rugpull Radio, sir.
Oh, thanks. Great to be here.
So I got to be honest, Paul. I've never heard about you, just because I've been mostly on X and other things, and I wasn't aware of you until the Bitcoin conference here in Las Vegas. And awesome, amazing presentation. Nobody talks about John Perry Barlow in this movement, and I think it's like super important as him being a pioneer to bring up. But you as yourself, a pioneer in the cypherpunk area as well. And so anyways, give us like your before you became a cypherpunk, like what kind of molded your libertarian views, I guess, before then, and like what was the early life of Paul like?
Oh boy. Raised in Chicago, grew up more or less in the construction business, became master electrician and all of that stuff. I ended up writing the books and magazines for the electrical business, electrical construction, bleeding into engineering and a lot of management sort of stuff. That was my world. And then in terms of libertarian stuff, I actually had 3 moments that really were very important to me. And one of them was simply reading the first 2 paragraphs of the Declaration of Independence. And it was just on a wall in my high school. This wasn't part of a class, but I was just the day that I walked by there and actually stopped and read the first 2 paragraphs. And my feeling was, this is it. This is right. I don't think anybody actually believes this, but it's right. And of course, there were a lot of things that bled into that, but that's a biography. Actually reading the Gospels for the very first time, I was, grew up in a Jewish neighborhood. I knew nothing about Jesus whatsoever. I mean, I knew the name, but to actually read read him directly without anything else, anything or anybody else telling me what it's supposed to mean, just to see the thing itself raw, that was a big moment in different sort of ways. And then at some point, I had some friends that I had known, friends of the family, and talking to them and having a nice conversation. One of the guys, the husband, was a professor of economics and very interesting people, both the husband and the wife. And he says, Paul, you've got to read this book. You have to read this book. I said, well, what is it? He says, it's called Atlas Shrugged. You have to read it. And I was going, what you're saying, everything you're saying here, you've got to read this book. Okay, all right. So long story short, I eventually got the book. And, the funny thing is, I really appreciate Ayn Rand. There are a bunch of things that I don't see it quite the same as she did. But that's okay. I'm not looking for the absolute God on the shelf that I can hold to. But boy, did she ask great questions and gave compelling arguments about a lot of them. And it really helped a lot with applying what were by then my instincts in the real world. So I guess those are some of my main formative things. From the electrical business, I got involved in fiber optics. I was right there at the beginning of that. I actually wrote a standard on installing optical fiber in buildings. It was fun. And right around that time, I ended up finding cypherpunks. I really don't even remember exactly how, but I know it was at some point, probably in late '95. And it wasn't just the cypherpunks list. There were a whole bunch of Usenet groups that were all kind of interrelated, and we shared, and there were daily, you can get the daily thing or you can get the weekly digest, and there was all sorts of stuff going on. But I was involved in that, and I kind of got the cryptography aha moment. somewhere in that period, and then I just continued on.
Yeah, and that's kind of crazy, right? Because the cryptography stuff, like even back then, the surveillance wasn't as prevalent, right? We weren't really being surveilled, and so you guys really saw maybe the surveillance state coming before anybody and figured out, hey, we may have ways against them. And so like what was kind of like the vibe? Was it like a lot of like Ron Paul guys? Did Ron Paul have any influence on you at all? Just curious.
Not really at that time. I actually went to conferences with Ron. Didn't know him outside of hi, how are you?
Okay.
Not at that time anyway. I did get a couple of emails from him once upon a time that I wish I still had.
Interesting.
But he was a very nice man. But the vibe was, we have Terra Nova. We have a new world here. We can put cryptography around whatever we're doing, and it's ours. It's nobody else's but ours. And that was a big deal, because as soon as you accept that, then you begin to say, well, how should our world be? Which from there was a whole lot of very big arguments. There were people who wanted to, let's set up a cyber nation with, a constitution and a this and a that and bill of, and, we had to fight that for a long time. And there were all sorts of things. How do we do things? What's the most important? What's the next most? There was long involved arguments. So there was a lot of that. And then we realized what was going on with being surveilled if you want real anonymity, because there were a lot of new nations projects at that time that, if you were in the 80s and 90s, that was all you had, and there were people, and I knew them, who wanted to, bribe a politician to get 100 square miles of territory somewhere and make a new Hong Kong. And there were a lot of those, and I appreciate them. They never worked, but I appreciate, the determination these people had. They wanted freedom, and they were willing to spend their time and effort for it. And I still respect that a tremendous amount. Even, wrong or right doesn't matter. These people were doing things they believed in. That's special. You want to be around that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so did you have any run-ins with any government officials? I know you built a pretty sophisticated VPN and being in these, these cypherpunk, chat rooms and stuff, I believe, even back then, right? Like they labeled some of this cryptography as, as arms, right? As export embargoes. And they and so it was kind of dicey for a while. Did you have any run-ins?
We were all worried. We were always concerned about it, and you knew you went to like some of the conventions in the old days. You knew the feds were walking around. You knew they were lurking around. There used to be things, spot the Fed. And excuse me. I never had any real difficulty when I was running Crypto Hippie, which was this special VPN you were talking about. I would go to shows. I ended up being friends with a lot, with a lot of the guys who did offshore stuff. And they were the ones who realized that they needed privacy. So I did all kinds of those shows and ended up with I used to do very conservative conventions, and I'm conservative in a lot of ways, and I'm I'm an older kind of semi-retired businessman, so who do you think my friends are? They're mostly conservatives of one flavor or another. But I used to go to those shows, and I would run into CIA handlers, and from time to time, and that's okay. I understand, I get it, and be friendly.
Yeah.
And I was. I mean, I never did anything with them, but I was friendly, and I was not their enemy. We never had any real problem. We had guys. We had people who were NSA. I had one guy once, I'm at a show, and this guy kind of comes up next to me and he says, I just retired from the NSA a month ago. He says, as soon as I got out, I bought your stuff.
Wow. Amazing. That's pretty cool to hear.
I said, thanks. I wish I could use that in my advertising. But we never had any real big trouble till the end, and that's a story of its own. But it wasn't jack boots at the door. It wasn't anything, thank God we got out, because I knew the guys who had like Snowden's email, and I've known a lot of these people, and some of them have really rough stories.
Yeah. And so, you're an electrical engineer, you find the cypherpunks, you are, you're involved in these things, you build a VPN, and then you get this inspiration to write this book, right? A Lodging of Wayfaring Men. Okay. And,
right.
You wrote it anonymously, and, it's a beautiful story about, this project gets released and people start joining a world of kind of free trade. So give us like the inspiration, like where you like, wait a minute, like, really it's very Satoshi-esque, right? I'm sure Satoshi probably read it or at least knew about it.
I hope so.
And how did that come about? Tell us about how you got the inspiration for that.
Well, I had found the cypherpunk, so I was already an author. I had written books for, the electrical business and construction business in general. And I was working with big publishers, and I was in the business, and found the cypherpunks, was involved in cypherpunks projects, and at some point, and it wasn't on purpose, at some point I just realized I need to write this, and it wasn't that I wanted to. I thought it was a great idea. I needed to. So I had never written fiction before. And if you ever find the first edition of the book, you can tell that the fiction was fine. I mean, the words are almost all the same in the version you have. There's almost nothing changed. But the way I italicized things, or did the various inside writer sort of thing. Oh, this is the first time this guy's done this. Yeah, well, it was. But the words are the same. So I just felt like I had to. At some point, I should really find the original files and see when the inception date was. But I'm going to say late 90s, 97, 98, I began just to put stuff together. And to put it, and I wrote it in the middle of one of these very big projects, a big long project. And so I knew, I had all of what it feels like to be doing it, which is really what I wanted to convey in the book. I wanted, not just to be a story about the, I want it to be an interesting story and all that, but I wanted people to know what it feels like to be in the middle of this stuff. And so I just started writing and putting it together and taking it apart. And the great real benefit to me at the end of it, I had the book finished and I sent it off, and it was anonymous, and it was really, really anonymous. Like it showed up on people's, door and plain brown envelope mailed from Switzerland, literally.
I love that.
Yeah, it was great. It was cool to be able to do it. Yeah. And, but there was a lady who wrote Fair books and other things named Andrea Rich. And I sent it to her. And I didn't know her. I know we had friends in common, but she didn't know. She had no way of knowing who I was. I doubt she knew my name by itself, but I was anonymous more than that. She had no clue who I was. She went through it carefully and came back to me and said, I know you're doing this and you're putting this in for a reason, but I really think you should consider doing this. And God bless her. She made the book so much better than it would have been, and had no idea who she was helping. She was just doing it because she cared about this stuff, and someone had, put together a book, which is obviously a lot of work, and just wanted to help. And fortunately, I don't know how many years later it was, 10, 15 years after, I was able to meet her and her husband and to have breakfast with them and thank them and all of that. Then she passed away not too long thereafter. So I was really happy about that. But Andrea really went a long way, just out of benevolence, just naked benevolence. And God, I'll never forget that.
And so, you write these books, it's a fiction book. You guys have this small group of, like, it's kind of like a small cult, right? And, in the back of your head, you're like, this stuff sounds really cool, but like, man, we're just so small. Like, how does this get presented to the world? Because it's so difficult for regular people to even understand the beginnings of, how to get involved in that. And then, Bitcoin, right, gets launched.
Right.
And I don't know, I'm not sure if you were involved in Hashcash or any of the other previous things that kind of were around, but like, did you immediately, as soon as she launched this, did you immediately be like, oh my God, this is it? Or what was your journey into finding Bitcoin and then realizing, like, oh wow, like this is something special?
Actually, when Bitcoin came along, I said, oh, that's nice. But he did something. That's good. But I'm really busy running this company and I don't have time to do this now. And I didn't. Running a company is hard. Yeah. And I was busy every day with all the various parts of it. I didn't do the network. My friend Jonathan did, and who's a genius at that stuff. But I was doing all the day-to-day stuff, and it was hard. So when Bitcoin came along, I said, oh, that's good. I'm glad because cypherpunks was really quiet for a long time. There was not a lot of action. Jonathan and I thought we were the last two guys sometimes. We weren't, but, kind of way. And so I really didn't do anything at first. I just said, that's nice. And somebody said, hey, can I send you some Bitcoin for something? Sure, you can send me some Bitcoin because you support the cause. I got the old original wallet and I put it on my one of my computers. And, you want to send me a couple Bitcoin for something? Sure, not a problem. I want to support the cause. I actually wrote a defense of Bitcoin in 2010, but it wasn't because I had read the white paper. It wasn't because I knew really anything much about it outside of just the thickest outlines. It was because Wikipedia was giving him crap. And Wikipedia kept taking down their page. And I was writing at that time for DGC magazine. DGC stood for Digital Gold Currency, because that was a big thing at the time, and which is a great adventure all of its own. But so I'm writing for this, and I looked into it for half an hour and found out the details, and I wrote a defense of Bitcoin. Said, look, these guys are trying to do something. Leave them alone. Let them put their thing up. I just checked on Alta Vista, which was the search engine of the day, which I still love. And I said, there's 247,000 links to this. You're going to tell me this is not significant? So I did a defense on Bitcoin, but it was years before I read the white paper. And I just, thank God I got some Bitcoin, but I got it from like picking up a guy's bar tab. Traveling and going somewhere. Hey, Paul, can you pick this up for me? I'll send you a few Bitcoins. Sure. Okay. Support the cause.
Yeah.
And, but hey, it's been a great adventure.
And so when did it finally hit you? Like, oh man, I need to really kind of like figure this out instead of just like, what year was that maybe that you really kind of dove in?
Well, I know when Bitcoin was between $10 and $20, whenever that was, I began to say, hey guys, you need to look into this, because it wasn't that it was going to increase in value. It was that it was not quite anonymous, but certainly censorship resistant currency. You can send this to anyone, anywhere, and nobody can stop you. You better look into this, because if you're working internationally and you're doing things internationally, you need to have this. And it's really cool, and you should look at it because it really, really works. So when Bitcoin was between 10 and 20, I started doing that, but it wasn't till later that I actually read the white paper. I went, oh, this is elegant. This works. Because, we had digital currencies before of various types, but always had the problem that, the federales could come in and grab the assets. We had a great system called e-gold, which you could buy and sell, gold by the gram or microgram. And it was super easy, worked super well. But, there was one guy that they could grab and ultimately did grab that would control the whole thing. So, and you could even see Satoshi writing about this in some of his, side conversations back in the day. Said we need something with the head that can't be cut off. And so when I saw that was what was going on, that was the big moment for me. But I was still busy running the company. It's hard.
Yeah. And so did you have any conversations with Satoshi? Were you on the Bitcoin Talk forums, any of that stuff from back then?
No,
Okay.
I wasn't. No,
Okay.
I've known, a lot of the supposedly Satoshi people.
Okay. Yeah, I figured
but
in your head, you're probably going now I've got a full, kind of, address book of people in the cypherpunk, arena. I wonder who it could be. Right. And so,
we all have our guesses. I don't ever comment about it publicly.
Okay.
But the only thing I will say is for sure, Satoshi was a cypherpunk. No question in my mind whatsoever. Because all of the pieces came together right there. And we were the people who were really trying to find an answer to this and we were the only people trying to find, well, not the only, there must have been somebody else, the only people visible that were trying to find an answer to all of this. And all of the pieces were right there, and all of the people who were capable of doing it were right there. So, it had to be one of them. Or maybe a group.
And so, meaning you don't public comment, meaning you think you have an idea of maybe a few people or a person, individual that is potentially Satoshi, but you just don't talk about it. That's fair. In some of my research, I've kind of connected dots to say that it's probably, a small group of white hat military guys, that related to the Q or QAnon movement. Did you ever look into the conspiracies of Q and QAnon and that whole movement?
Oh yeah, I saw it had a lot of people sending me stuff. I found it interesting, but too consuming for me. It was just, I didn't want to. I would check it from time to time, and see what was going on, what were hits, what were misses, what were, all that kind of stuff. But there's just too many things to do, and that one didn't land on my palate.
Okay. Yeah. And so I sent you some stuff. You'll have to take a look at it, but I kind of connect some interesting dots through numerology that's a little in the woo to say, but it's kind of based on vortex math. It's kind of based on 369. I know Satoshi built Bitcoin with vortex math in mind. And so there's some interesting parallels that I think combine some powerful proofs, as we call them. But tell us more about maybe some of the other books. If you want to talk about anything else that you think people might be interested in from a Bitcoin perspective. Now, I saw this Recovering Jesus book down here that seemed interesting. Kind of on a tangent here. Now, a lot of us think that Bitcoin is kind of this digital second coming of Jesus, because it is the truth and it is power and it is all these different things in cyberspace. Not sure if you drew any parallels in that book or where you kind of went with that, but
no, I didn't draw any parallels with Bitcoin. It's just that I thought, look, my experience was very different than most people's coming to this guy. And I don't even, I really love and respect many, many Christians. But I'm not properly a Christian, at least not according to statements of faith and all that sort of thing. I mean, my regard for Jesus is high. but for the overall assemblage built around it, I'm not. But I thought it was really important to write this book. This is another one of those books that I had to write. And, whether people will pay attention to it, it's so different, and it's hard to go counter to pre-commitments, because especially when you get biblical stuff, so many people these days feel like if you get the wrong doctrine, you're going to hell. And so how do you tell somebody that, no, the way you've been seeing this, it really isn't that, it's this? Because what they're doing is facing, a commitment to hell if they believe something that's that different. So, and it is different. It's a very different, but I think it's at least close to correct. I mean, none of us were standing there 2,000 years ago to watch. That would be really cool. But we weren't there, and we have no way of being there.
Right. It's all trust me, bro.
Right. So, I think it's pretty close to correct anyway. But how do you put that into the world? So I just put it in the best I could, and if it gets readers now, or if it gets readers in 100 years, I did my job. That's all I can do. So
yeah,
that was that one.
Yeah, and it almost seems like we're in a similar, and from my perspective, circumstance with I think there's going to be a very demarcation of before Bitcoin and after Bitcoin society, right? Like January 3rd, 2009 is the new kind of time chain point to where humanity forked off, I guess, into a different direction with this technology. And that's kind of, why we kind of say, hey, maybe, there is something very spiritual about the war we're in. And you eloquently put a lot of this stuff in speech at the Bitcoin conference. And so you very much aligned, Bitcoin with, and I'll put up one of your slides. Of course we have Thomas Jefferson and John Perry Barlow. And so, these mental rights that we talk about, are derived from consent of the governed, right? And so we freely give our consent. I mean, in this day and age, it's really through voting and paying your taxes, right? And, what other way out do we have of this mess? If we no longer consent, right, the government is no longer legitimate in the view of the people. And so the only way you can really opt out is pay your taxes. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I think the biggest relationship people have with the federal government is the payment of federal taxes. And so, we truly believe we're living through a digital 1776, and that Bitcoin is allow us to exit the matrix. And John Perry Barlow, he put, cyberspace where, governments didn't get our consent, in cyberspace. We don't need their consent. Any thoughts on, extrapolating, your thesis even further?
Sure. It's a funny thing. I have another presentation I'm going to be giving at a Bitcoin show in a few weeks. And, at the beginning, we all wanted anonymous digital cash that couldn't be stopped. And Bitcoin wasn't precisely that, although it was pretty close. And then the problem came for a lot of early guys, a lot of people of that mindset. And it doesn't have to be early, just anybody who has that particular mindset, that, they're corporatizing it now. We've got this going on and this going on and this going on, and the mega corporate blah, blah, blah. And, all you can fill in the gaps pretty well. And it's not what we wanted. It's not. But, I guess as a guy, I've seen a lot of stuff and seen how change occurs. I mean, from actually living through it and being frustrated and wanting it to go faster, and it doesn't go faster. But it's okay, Because what you do is you build something great, and Bitcoin is definitely something great and something pure. Okay, Bitcoin was pure for what it was. The structure, the model was a pure model. You put it into the world, and the world will take it where the world wants it to go. You know, you're one guy, or maybe 2, 3 guys, whatever. And you put it into the world, and you can't control what happens then. So if the world decided that, most of the world anyway, decided that Bitcoin was a store of value, and they're not wrong. It's a great store of value. It's a superb store of value, and they're not wrong. But you know, people are concerned that it's going to be swallowed up by the corporate, you know, monoliths and all that, and it's a legit concern. However, Bitcoin, first of all, can't go away. It's not like a company that can be taken over or driven into bankruptcy or something. It's a program. It's just there. So it's not going to go away, and all of the benefits that we want from it are there. All we need to do is use them. But it's also, and this is very interesting, even when they corporatize it and all of that, and however, you know, successful they are or aren't, whatever, it's a layer of unmanipulable money in whatever structure they place it. So if you think war is out of control, well, you can't just hit a button with Bitcoin and print $35 billion to send to people who are making bombs. You can't. They can do it with dollars, but dollars are just going to inflate forever. I mean, or all of the fiat currency, you know, more or less, who knows. But if you don't like the welfare system, you can't just hit a button and conjure up another million Bitcoins to pay for it. You can't do it. And on and on. Honest currency makes a comprehensible world. And the more that, even if you have a layer of Bitcoin within a larger organization, it is what it is, and it's pure for what it is. And it is going to affect the larger organization. So I'm really, you know, it didn't go the way I would have scripted it, but that's okay. You know, we got billions of people here, and they all come from different places, and they all have to find their own path. But it's there. I mean, my God, I go to these Bitcoin shows, and it's astonishing. You know, all of these people, and you know, they really get it. You know, we all have different opinions on things, but they get it. And it's just, you know, I look around and say, how did this happen? I mean, I did my part, other people did their part, but look around, there's, you know, 20, 30, 40,000 people at some of these things. Yeah. How the heck did that happen? Wow. And we are actually, to quote a great historian, we are changing the terms of the debate. You know, people don't like changing their pre-commitments. In other words, and they will fight it sometimes vigorously to protect their pre-commitments. But they do eventually come around. And we're starting to see that. And it's, you know, it's an astonishing thing, but it really did it because Bitcoin was pure. It is what it was. It had all of the right things. There's no handles for, you know, the grand poobah to grab. There's nothing. There's no reset switch. There's no central committee. There's no nothing. It's just it. And it was pure, and it was put into the world, and somehow, thank God, it got legs. And the world's not going to be the same.
Yeah, you know, and it's interesting, right? I mean, some people may just call all of this just a coincidence, right? It just kind of happened, right? And so I don't really believe in coincidences to that degree. And I think you know, we're here because probably some very smart men had a plan, because they knew, right, a total surveillance central bank digital currency economy was coming. You know, you know, you've been expert witnesses for NASA and, you know, the government, you know, and you probably know these institutions, right? They're a lot smarter than they appear to be in the public. And some of the conniving things they can do and the power that they're reaching for are pretty scary. And so I'm curious if you've read Jason Lowry's software thesis at all.
I read part of it. I didn't go through the whole thing.
Okay.
So I probably can't comment too well upon that. But back to your point on central bank currencies. I have a friend in the gold business who says, it's the spawn of hell. And he's right. It is. It's a horrible, terrible thing. They're having a hard time with it. They tried it really hard in Nigeria. And I mean, they had all of the big bosses on the plantation with them. And they got them to thing and to pull the old currency and all that kind of stuff. The Nigerian people wouldn't do it. They wouldn't comply. God bless and thank the Nigerians, because they really, they put at least a big delay in this thing, because this was the rollout and this was the one where they were going to do it. I mean, there's all these organizations, you probably know this as well as I do, that are behind all this kind of stuff. And it didn't work. And they had to withdraw it. And the guy who was in charge of the program had to resign, and they apologized and all of that. Please don't hate us now. But that's the threat, is central bank digital currencies. And, that combined with, what we call big data, these various sorts of gigantic data operations. So that's the scary thing. And I wrote a book on that called The Breaking Dawn. And, it's a pretty big book, but, that's the one that the novel I think is especially important. But, authors are notorious. You write these books and you say, oh no, this is the one that's the best. And everybody, no one reads that one. They all read the other one.
And so, the software thesis is really Bitcoin as a weapon system. And that, in these two quotes here, you have Satoshi talking about an arms race in gaining a new territory of freedom. And so if we think about, a weapon system where militaries and governments can't confiscate your Bitcoin, they can't block the transaction. You think about it, it takes action from the individual, though, because, we're going into a world where governments are going to tax unrealized gains. Politicians are trying to politicians are trying to do, we got to, give you legal frameworks for self-custody, or, think of the Samurai Walk guys. They're in jail for writing open source software that, the government themselves even said was not a crime, after they ran it through FinCEN and all these things. And so, it really is weaponized authority at the individual level, but the human has to make a choice. Are they going to succumb and comply with the tyranny, or are they going to opt out? And so this is really weaponized choice. This is weaponized consent at its core. And it's just an interesting parallel because, Satoshi talked about it in an arms race. And I think peer-to-peer cash was kind of a ruse that, the level of energy that is required at the network now is impossible to topple a 51% attack against it. And so, these are interesting parallels as we're we come clashing into the tyrants that want to centralize power as much as they can. And now we have this decentralizing technology that really kind of puts a fork in their playbook. What do you think about that?
I can't disagree with anything you just said there. But I'm really fairly optimistic these days. And the reason is that the infrastructure of this, and it's basically a socialist communist infrastructure that's been built for the last 50 some years, it's coming apart. USAID is gone. I mean, that was an abominable organization. I had some dealings that related to it, and they were horrifyingly bad. They're gone. all of these things are coming apart. All of the racial,
DEI,
yeah, all of that stuff is coming apart. And what it does is not only does it break power directly, but it breaks indirect power. It breaks up these networks and the NGOs. I mean, you cannot, however bad you think NGOs are, they're way worse. And that's, their financing is coming apart. Right now, with the Supreme Court decision a few weeks ago, or whatever it was, on the racial districting, which is, it was the right decision. You can't divvy up political positions based upon the color of somebody's skin. Are you nuts? But finally that came apart, and that's going to go all the way down to the local levels, and all of these NGOs and there's all kinds of dirty deals at all the locals and state levels where money is getting siphoned into this thing. And these are the various groups that have been pushing for the digital the digital central bank currencies and a whole lot of other things. And I know that the Trump family in particular is really ticked off at the banks. And at this last show, I actually ran into Eric Trump. It was a very brief hello, how are you? Nice to meet you. Seemed like a reasonable guy. But he had a small kind of side interview, for, I don't know, 50 or 100 people or something. And he, there's real bad feelings on the part of the Trump family towards the banks. Because when all the lawfare was going against them and they were doing everything that they did against Mr. Trump, they cut many hundreds of accounts for the Trump family and the Trump organization. And Eric was talking about it. He says, look, this wasn't just us. These were homeowners associations. These were businesses that we had done, had worked with for 20, 30, 40 years. And everybody was, in a panic and in a disaster. And he said, that's why we're in crypto. Yeah. It's just because of that. Because we wanted to have something that we can exchange on that wasn't going to be able to get cut. And now that we're here, we see what it is. We believe in it, and we're going forward. Wow. However imperfect some of this stuff may be, we'll take the progress. We'll take the less bad. Okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, I would like perfect. Probably you would like perfect. But we'll take less bad, because the world changes in its own pace. And this is big. And that the infrastructure that supported so much tyranny, including the samurai guys, it was all when they were trying to kill Bitcoin, and then finally lost. And they couldn't kill it. And so now they have to try to accommodate it at best. But all of that infrastructure is now being dismantled. And boy, that opens up some nice territory for us, and will for the next, I don't know how many years. Even if things turn back, it's going to take a long time for them to regain all that lost ground now that the structures are being taken apart. That's the thing. It's the structures. Wow. Who would have believed this 5-10 years ago? No, I probably wouldn't have.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because, Eric Trump is talking about the heart of the corruption, right? The banks and, the Wall Street bankers who are getting rich off of, the current monetary system, while the people they serve, right, are not getting much of any of the profits that are being done inside. And so, this really does transition us to a whole new realm, the TradFi stuff and being crypto with their, with their shit coins that they launch and stuff. And I think, that's done on purpose because, if they were to come out as Bitcoin maximalist, well, that probably, for one, it'd signal that Trump knew the dollar was toast at some point. Right. And,
right.
Look, it actually does weaken America's power in the long run, because we can no longer sanction bank accounts happening in the Strait of Hormuz, where they're now accepting Bitcoin as final settlement to have legal passage or safe passage. And look, we don't have any, we can throw weapons at them, but we can't stop their financial transactions from going through. And so Trump, leading a nation who needs Bitcoin the least, is, championing this new infrastructure, which is, I think, interesting, right?
Right. It is.
And so, a lot of us think that, Trump is playing a very pivotal role in transitioning us to this new golden age, right? With all these different technologies, AI, right? You have Tesla, you have SpaceX, which is, doing some incredible things. And
it's awesome. Yeah.
For the most part, probably a lot of these technologies have been, suppressed because they didn't want to allow humans to accelerate in this deflationary environment, because their system is a credit-based one that needs to print more money and can't allow deflationary technologies.
Right. Quite right.
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing we're living through right now. But I love this slide, by the way. This is one of my favorite slides you put up there, because Bitcoin coded humans as primaries, not derivatives. And that's the point, because a lot of us in our community believe that Bitcoin is a new global governance system, right? That we are now able to self-govern through our own pocketbooks, through the weaponization of our consent. If you don't want to build biolabs in Ukraine, if you don't want to commit genocide, right? If you want to do all these things that are against your morality, right? Because currently, your taxes are funding terrorism, right? They're funding institutional genocide. They're funding all these different things with or without your explicit permission,
right?
And so taxation without representation. Well, I mean, what is inflation? It's the same thing, at its core. And so we believe, voting in this system of, the republic, democracy, whatever you call it, that allows 218 people to make rules for 300 million is just out of scale, completely out of scale. And so what do you kind of see, in your book, in this new political realm of individual power-backed authority with the individual versus relying on politicians? Like, how do you see that new world kind of, what does that look like?
Oh boy. It's where we're going is clear. And that is a decentralized world built around the open world. And it will be so much better than what we have now. That's never going to be perfect, because, humans are not completely developed yet, and we're still going to have the problems we carry inside of us. But my God, is it going to be better? The transitions are always the hard part, because, like I said before, people have these deeply emotionally held pre-commitments. How long does it take from somebody to see that something that they've committed to and written about and whatever is incorrect before they're able to actually accept it and act like it? There used to be an old thing about libertarians and anarchists, meaning anarcho-capitalists, voluntarists, not the break windows guys. But say, what's the difference between libertarian and anarchist? And the guy goes, 6 or 7 years. But there is a certain amount of time for people to change things that they've previously committed to. So the transitions are always sloppy. They're always slower than you want. And they always take directions that you wouldn't have advised. But I think we're doing really well. And I think with the breakup of these institutions that are ongoing, again, that Supreme Court decision a few weeks ago is like the big one, because it affects everything from the feds down to this, and it breaks up all these coalitions that were essentially getting power and getting rich off these, racial this, that, and all this stuff, people hating each other. Communism needs to have groups of people with how shall we say, people with complaints and they weaponize complaint, and they tell everybody, yeah, you're right, they've hurt you, you're a victim, you're this, and then they assemble them to a coalition so they can win. And they've been really good at it. Give them credit. I mean, they're liars and everything else, but they've been very good at it. And they built this massive infrastructure, and they advertised that they were using racial discrimination, except it was against this group, not that group. So we're right. But it's wrong no matter what way you do it. And now that's come down, and it's going to be a pretty horrendous fall, I think, for the people committed to it. So, where do we go from here? We need to get past the money issue, because that affects so much. And fiat currencies are doomed to endless inflation. Bitcoin is not. Gold and silver are not. And they are honest money, which much more than the fiscal parts, which are giant, but it's more important for the people, for them to know that their money is solid and to change things. When you can't just print money with a stroke of a key, all sorts of things disappear, and the world becomes understandable, it becomes comprehensible. And right now, the world is completely incomprehensible to an average working person, a nurse, a truck driver, a beautician, an electrician, whatever. It doesn't matter. People are busy. They've got a family. They work hard. They get home. They're tired. Now they've got to deal with the kids. It's hard, and they don't have time to go through 50 different books, and plus some of us are just kind of born with that skill, with an aptitude for that, which I guess would be me. But not everyone is wired that way, nor should they be. Everyone doesn't need to be wired the same. Matter of fact, it's better that we're not. But who has time to do all that stuff? So it's going to take them time to change. But boy, we're moving in the right direction. It's going to make the world understandable. You're never going to know every detail, of course, but right now we've had such a surf, to use an old-timey word, of just endless outrage and endless bad news, and most of it is they're gonna or they might, rather than what did happen. And just people are overwhelmed, and a lot of times they tune out. And in a way, I can't blame them, but we're adults now. We need to pay attention, because we're on the cusp of some really great stuff, and it's time to start taking notice.
Yeah, but I think also we have to realize that there's been no revolution has been won by voting, right?
Right.
And in your book, right, you kind of talk about how people are afraid of taking personal responsibility. We live in a domesticated world of humans that rely on trust, right? And that trust is ultimately what leads us down this path of bondage, is handing over our power and authority to people that don't deserve to be trusted with that level of trust. And so in reality, right, us opting out when Bitcoin becomes the most valuable thing on the planet and they no longer can print energy, when enough of us opt out, right, they can't arrest everybody, right? This is a DDoS attack on their enforcement bureaucracy.
Yes, it is.
And so in reality, the only, and look, people, I mean, I would say people are angry though. We lived through, we lived through COVID, right? They shut down your business. They killed your grandparents. They injected you with poison. It's everywhere, right? The tyranny, the surveillance. And I think a lot of people are kind of ticked off. And I think, giving people hope in Bitcoin as a weapon system, right? A non-kinetic, we don't have to shoot anybody. We're literally just taking the moral high ground and opting out, I think is a very positive, uplifting message for people that can change the power structures that be,
Oh, absolutely. It is a beautiful message. And we have not yet seen the COVID reckoning. After World War I, which was way more horrific than most people understand. It was 10 years before anybody really wrote about it. And there's other historical examples as well. It takes time for people to be ready to process this. And I think the COVID reckoning is still to come. And I think it's going to be a really powerful thing.
Okay. Yeah. So also you guys can find Paul on Substack at Vera Verba. And so you've got 3 different Substacks there, I guess. Do you want to discuss each one, like just briefly on what each individual Substack is about, I guess?
Sure. The findings is just what articles that I think are important on all sorts of subjects, everything from theology to politics, but tends more along the long-term and historical sort of stuff, and philosophy, things like that. 10-second thoughts is just little self-improvement sort of things. I call it that because it takes about 10 seconds of direct attention for humans to really absorb something and retain it. So these are things, and they're all short, that are worth 10 seconds of your direct focus to pay attention to. And then the wreckage and the rebuild is a quarterly where I go through what has actually happened over the past 3 months, and what does this affect, and how do we use this? What has actually happened, and how do we use this for ourselves and for our families and for the future? And that's pretty long. I think the first 2 issues have been 15, 16 pages. I mean, this is not read it on the screen. This is printed out and pour yourself a cup of tea.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, we want to try to get you on X. I think you'd have a lot more impact as well if you were able to get on X. I'm not sure if you have a personal reason for not being on there, but
yeah, I don't really care for social media.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's, so I don't do it. I may eventually get onto Nostr.
Okay, good. Yeah, Nostr's great.
Yeah, my Bitcoiner friends are, Paul, guys, I've got enough to do. Yeah, no, we got to do it. So I think I'll probably eventually get onto Nostr.
Okay, cool. And so you'll be speaking at Bitcoin Prague here in June. So you've got the cypherpunks, tips on how to thrive in digital panopticon, I guess.
Panopticon, yeah.
Bitcoin is still bigger than you think it is, and fundamentals for your modern cypherpunk life. The work you've been doing, sir, you are a patriot. We hope you continue to, pull and press the message of freedom, and really it's kind of like re-explaining how this country was founded. A lot of people forget. We've got this amnesia of kind of how we're able to we've fallen for the same traps, I think, of the old world and tyrannical regimes. And so there's a new way, I think, that we can find a way through freedom and sovereignty through Bitcoin. But we also have a Pepe of the week for you, sir, because we always do these Pepes. And so we love Pepe. Pepe, we believe, has big meanings. Okay. And so for you, there's one called Cyber Pepe.
All right.
So this is Neo Tokyo Cyberpunk. And it says, good for health, bad for addiction, I think.
Okay.
And so these are part of these rare Pepes that were put out back in 2016. This is from July 17th by Mr. Hansel. These go for about $1,100. And so when you get to maybe reading some of my research, I'd love you to put it in some of your AI and things. But these are Bitcoin NFTs that live on the time chain, right? And you can prove that these things are real because they were burned, right? Energy that nobody can co-opt. And, there's a real interesting one, Paul, that, we always like to talk about, which is the Games of Trump NFT. There's a Bitcoin NFT, right, that was put out, almost 2 months before the first Q drop. And so if Q is the 17th letter of the alphabet, right, I'm wearing a 17 hat, and you realize you've got Trump on this dragon with all these 17s all over it. And so we think the mathematics are provably, off the charts, and that, potentially, there was more planning and, foresight that went into this entire operation than maybe meets the eye. And that it wasn't just an Adam Beck or a Hal Finney, and that, look, we are today where we have military generals talk about power projection. And so, you know, is that, you think if the if the powers that be were still in control, they would allow this to flourish and be at the level it is? I don't think so. And so
No.
I think we're in a peaceful transition personally, but you know, we'll kind of see how that plays out. But we'll be following you. We'll be you know, interested to see your talks at Bitcoin Prague. And yeah, any other ways people can find you, or any other upcoming shows you're doing?
No, that's the only thing that I have now. And you know, follow me on Substack.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. Well, hey, legend here, Paul Rosenberg, one of the cypherpunks that have helped. You know, a very prophetic book, by the way. You know, so go get this, Lodging of Wayfaring Men. I'm thinking Satoshi probably read it, you know, and you probably had some influence on him. And
I would like to think so. That would be fun.
But yeah, thanks for your time today, sir.
Yeah, always my pleasure.
All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Paul, a great guest. You could tell he was holding some cards to his chest on maybe what he knew about Satoshi. For another day. So go check out his Substack.com at Vera Verba. So go check him out. But moving right along, also, if you guys want to learn about the Pepe project, you want to learn about the Bitcoin NFTs, go grab your phone and scan this little icon to come join us. I swear I've been yelling about these frogs for years now. Years. And it's like nobody gets like how to scale Bitcoin, right? Tokenization is coming, right? We talked about this. I've talked about it. Trump is ushering it in. Anyways, let's transition to the clown news of the week. Of course, we had Drake drop his new album. And in the new album, there is a Bitcoin. I'm a BTC crypto big timer, Drake says. And so I don't know if that's a little head nod to Drake in the Bitcoin song, or just Drake in general. But either way, pretty cool. Iran is now accepting Bitcoin for safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz, right? Insurance payment. Lloyd's of London, City of London bankers, absolutely wrecked. And there's nothing they can do to stop this. By the way, Trump has just rushed back to the Oval Office, and they're saying war is imminent. So I'd love for everybody to check the shorts, see if anybody placed a bet on short selling oil, you know, right before this happened, right? Because prices are about to go through the roof. So I guess they'd probably go long here, right? Because prices are about to probably explode. So anyways, I'm sure the rug on, rug off is still right playing. I don't know how people can still think all this is real. Like the PSYOP war games information war is next level, but like it's just a rug pull back and forth. It's kind of funny. And so, yeah, but look, like Scott Bessent froze like $500 billion in stable coins from the Iranian government. And so I guess finally they figured out, hey, we should probably use Bitcoin because that way they can't freeze our funds. Like, I don't know how many times they'd have figured out, but maybe the shadow bankers, right, didn't want to use Bitcoin because, you know, they actually, you know, they know Bitcoin is unstoppable. And so that would expose them too, as far as, you know, where the addresses were coming for and stuff. And so fun times ahead. We had the Bitcoin and Crypto Clarity Act officially secures 13 votes needed to pass committee. By the way, this was on 5/13. Okay. So we had two Covfefe bombs happen on 5/13. We had the Clarity Act gets passage, and we had Kevin Warsh be voted to be approved as the next Fed chair. So like Covfefe on top of Covfefe on top of Covfefe, right? Like, is this coincidence, guys? I don't know how many more proofs we can get, but 513 was a big day. Eric Trump ABTC just climbed another spot. Now, the 15 largest Bitcoin treasury company. But you guys, Eric Trump's just a shitcoiner. He's launching shitcoins. We're going to complain. So funny to watch those Bitcoiners. Trump, a master strategist, just disclosed holding $50,000 to $100,000 worth of Bitcoin treasury company strategy. So that's interesting. We have Marty. Marty, we love you. But, the soft war, game theory, the soft war thesis is going mainstream now. And so you can't deny it. This is nonsensical driven. Bitcoin's hash power can do nothing but produce hash cash. 256. Hashes, blah, 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 blah. It's like they're frantically saying it's not a weapon system. And it's just like, of course you can't drop a Bitcoin bomb on somebody, you fucking moron. Like, nobody's saying you're going to like package up some Satoshis and like try to airdrop it from your wallet to blow up a missile silo in Tehran. Like, nobody's talking about it like that. So what are these people even saying? Like, it's just retarded. Like, come on, man. What are we doing here? Talking like a bunch of fucking retards. And that's what all the Bitcoiners who don't get software sound like. You sound like a couple of freaking retards that don't understand simple information theory, simple proof of work, simple protection for networks in cyberspace. And then you keep pulling the string and it's protection at the individual level. Humans can now choose whether to submit to tyrants or not. And if they don't want, they can just move and they take all their wealth with them. And that's what's happening. This is a soft war on multiple fronts. It's being exposed all across the world. And everybody's going to have to fuck around and find out, So that's interesting. Scott Bessent talking about Iran's shadow banking system. By the way, Iran's shadow banking system is actually Zionist Jew banking system, not the Iranians. The Iran revolution, right? The fundamental revolution happened because they were going to nationalize oil. They were going to kick out all of the grifters, all of the Zionists, all of the City of London, all of the British, the Vatican, all of them were grifting off the Iranian oil trade. Everyone's like, you know what? We're going to take this in our hands. We don't need you guys. Why are we getting charged for our own? It's our own land, and you guys are here grifting off of us, right? And so, the CIA, Mossad, did the Iranian Revolution, and they've been ruled from Assad since the 50s, 70s. So, like, to say any of this current regime, or the previous regime was Iran is fucking retarded. And so Trump's going to go blow up some more Zionists. Congratulations. Please do, Trump. You found a couple more Zionists probably hiding out in some caves, right, that came to the surface. Good. Blow them up. Blow up the Zionists that are still pulling some strings in Iran and give Iran back to their people, right? Let them charge through the Strait of Hormuz. That's their land, right? They've got the strategic advantage. They're going to ensure boats going through their waterway. So it's their right, right? So yeah, I love it. What else? Trump EO. So Trump just signed an executive order to allow integration of digital assets into traditional finance services and payment systems. Like, this is just like booms all over. To not think that these aren't all major Q proofs right now in a transition, a structural transition from the Federal Reserve is complete. Like, I don't even know what to call these people. They're like, what are they, lemmings? I don't know that you follow the conspirators so far down the rabbit hole and then you just stop. And you're like, you know what? Trump and Q are coming to save us. And I can't see what's happening right in front of me. I can't see a decentralized, open, immutable, right? protocol that is unfuckwithable. Like, I don't understand Q-Tardville at this point. I don't get it. I really don't get Q-Tardville. I'm having a hard time. Kind of going nuts, actually, to some degree. Like, this would be way more fun, too, by the way. If I wasn't the only one talking about this, to some degree, I feel like it'd be a lot more fun if we had some more frogs. Like all the proofs that are on Counterparty that are on time chain, like are all mine and everybody else's, you know? So like, what's going to happen when they figure it out? Well, we're going to be the only ones that have it. I don't know. That's fucking kind of boring, man. I was hoping for a little bit of competition, something, some other people to wake up, but they're still, you know, circle jerking, buying gold and voting and paying their taxes to pedophiles. Anyways, all right. Back to Trump. Big vote happened where energy and commerce are including a bill called the Sunshine Protection Act, which will make daylight savings time permanent. I love that. Why have we done this for? Probably because the Zionists had some money-making scheme on the back end of that. You know they did. It was all about stealing time from us. It's all about making sure that we live depressed, miserable lives with, you know, being in the dark more often. Like you're supposed to be in the sun, Matt. The sun is energy. The sun is healing. The sun is power. The sun is what fuels the entire world. The sun is the seed corn of everything. And we're going to take advantage of that. It's how we're going to get to Kardashev level 1, level 2, and beyond. That's exactly what Elon's doing. So of course they want to keep us in the dark. Pricks. Strange signal. Ton of strange signal. Of course, we had the Flynn tweet go out today talking about splintering the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scattering it into the winds. How many heirs can... So, yeah, I mean, you know, cannot afford another debacle, right? Tulsi Gabbard just resigned. Her husband is going through some bone cancer stuff. Prayers to her. She's a patriot. And I think there's, you know, probably an op in there somewhere. So, by the way, this was super interesting. I noticed this, actually. I was trying to see the flags when they were swearing them in today, and I noticed like there was no gold fringe, but I really wasn't watching the whole thing, so I didn't really tune back. But yeah, there's no gold fringe on the flags, guys. That's like a huge signal to me. It's not just random. That is showing that we are taking the power back, right? We are no longer a captured America. So yeah, interesting. And here's Representative Mike Rulli talking about governments can print unlimited amounts of money. Bitcoin supply is permanently fixed. Jason Laurie was right. Soft war is coming. Right? Then you had another representative, another congressman. Bitcoin is not just a commodity. It's a national security asset, a tool of power projection, and a critical front in the competition with the CCP. Jason Laurie was right. We and the frogs deserve some credit. We were right. Okay, we didn't write the book, but we knew exactly what that was as soon as it happened. I did. I was like, holy shit. This is exactly what the missing piece to my thesis was. I didn't know how to call Bitcoin a weapon. I couldn't even begin to try to figure that one out because I still am a domesticated human, right? I'm domesticated. I didn't know what the hell that was. So props to Lori. Maybe one day we'll get him on the show. Hopefully. We'll see. The gold ARMA bill would make Bitcoin a tier 1 reserve asset, revaluing the gold. And so how cool is this? The ARMA, American Reserve Modernization Act of 2020. ARMA sounds like arms, sounds like a weapon system. Authorize the Treasury to acquire up to 200,000 Bitcoin per year for 5 years, targeting a reserve of 1 million Bitcoin. A rebranding and expansion of the original Bitcoin Act co-introduced last year will codify Trump's March 2025 executive order, establishing a strategic Bitcoin stockpile into permanent law that cannot be reversed by a future president. Bill classified as tier 1. So currently our gold is valued at $42.22 an ounce, set in 1973. And then at today's gold price of $45.28 per ounce, the revaluation would unlock over 1.17 trillion in paper gains on the government's 8133 metric tons of gold. So that's interesting. 1.17 trillion. 7-Eleven for the win, baby. Yeah. So we had, this is cool. Bitcoin has a color, not the brand orange, the actual wavelength of its Bitcoin frequency. Transposed 58 octaves into visible light, 624 nanometers orange red. The protocol vibrates at the color it already wears. Nobody planned this. The math. Okay, somebody planned this, bro. Hate to break it to you. Everything's not a coincidence, bro. Okay? Like, come on. Trump is going big with space. So the flat earthers and fake spacers can eat a large bag. By the way, the launch of Starship version 3 just happened. Was a beautiful launch. Was perfect. You saw little Starlink satellites get launched into orbit in real space. I don't know how you can say that's fake. I don't know. I don't get it. I love it. So don't be a Luddite evangelical, faggot, right? Embrace the technology. Embrace it. By the way, I think Ash is finally done voting. She said the other day, she's not in Gtopia yet, but she's finally done voting. So we're making progress. We're making actual progress. And the Elon launch, T0. By the way, they scrubbed it yesterday due to a retracting hydraulic. Come on, bro. Who believes that shit? You saved it for Bitcoin Pizza Day. And we've got this special T0 launch. So T0, sound familiar? Think Patrick Byrne, right? Counterparty. Launch day on Bitcoin Pizza Day. Maybe some counterparty nodes on the way up, perhaps. Smug, indeed. Jason Laurie, the current commander of U.S. Cyber Command, is a former commander of Delta Force. What do you think he's going to do if you attack critical U.S. cyber infrastructure with a quantum computer in a way that U.S. can't effectively defend against from cyberspace? Does this guy look like he fucks around? This guy will cut your throat in a heartbeat, okay? And he'll drop a bomb on you, a very precise precision bomb on your head if you try to develop a quantum computer that can fuck with us. So you're on notice. Trump posting federal victory notes. Federal victory notes. Do you think he would post a federal victory note if we didn't have a Federal Reserve that was going to win on a new Bitcoin standard? I can't wait the day till Kevin Warsh goes, you know what? We're just going to a Bitcoin standard. We're just going to completely fire everybody. We don't need you guys. Good day. The inflation schedule's already been set. We're going to print a bunch of money. We're going to we're going to buy some Bitcoin, and we're just going to let it go from there. By the way, everybody pack up their shit. We don't need you anymore. Okay. Again, 17th Fed chair in the 17th anniversary of Bitcoin coming up on the 250th year of 1776. Wowzers. Some might just call me a numerologist that keeps on winning. Are we winning? I think we're winning, man. I don't have any more 17s we can get out of that. By the way, none of the Q-tards are tracking any of this. I mean, they're tracking, 17, my balls, but like, what is that, bro? Like, do you look at the Bitcoin connection? Like Kevin Warsh actually said Bitcoin is the new gold. Like, what's wrong? McFly, is something wrong with your brain? I think I'm just lonely. I want to cut more Q-tards on board here. I think I'm so thankful for you frogs, by the way. You frogs, you have kept me sane through this entire episode because it's been a long freaking time, right? It's been a long time. And it's been your boy G and you frogs. That's it. Literally nobody else. I get on Spaces. I sound like a fucking nuts case. I get it. I sound like a nutso. What else am I supposed to do? I don't get it. Yeah. So, there's that. And we've got the debt clock. By the way, this debt clock is pretty freaking crazy because it talks about a wealth-based, debt-free, non-interest-bearing money issued by the Treasury. And it talks about JFK and executive. What is it? 11-11-0. Oh, really? Oh, like Mike Kofefi dig? Oh, like 3-15-11-11. What? Come on, guys. Yeah. By the way, we got a couple more videos here. Some cool stuff. Okay, so here's Kevin Warsh getting sworn in today by Trump, and Trump talking about it being central casting and a movie. Pay attention.
Secretary of the Treasury, he's like central casting, Scott Bessent. If we do a movie on someday we're going to need a Secretary of the Treasury, we're starring him, I think. We'll put him in there, right? He's done a good job. Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins. Brooke, thank you.
Central casting. By the way, we also had a tippy top connection to Kevin Warsh getting sweared in.
It's an honor, and today I'm thrilled to welcome you to the White House, the most beautiful building. I love this building. We fix it up all the time. That's the real estate business in me, and it's in tippy-top shape, finally. But for the swearing in of our new chairman of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, Kevin Warsh. Kevin?
By the way, it was Pip that pointed out to it in the chat, because Trump said tippy top before, but the original tippy top was tippy top shape. So this is closing the loop from the original tippy top shape, which was like on Easter, I think, back in 2018, to today's tippy top shape. Like those are bookends, right? Boom, boom, right? That's like a Q Trump Bitcoin connection, right? Like, I don't know, put that in your pipe and smoke it. Yeah, so that's that. And let's remember, I think it's the biggest revolution to ever happen. I think we're going to get a signature on the Clarity Act, probably July 4th, or maybe this ARMA thing, or maybe both. Let's get some more, or maybe 531. 531 would be a cool date too. Let's take a look. Let's see what Trump say in the past again.
Called on Congress to pass landmark legislation creating simple, common sense rules for stablecoins and market structure. With the right legal framework, institutions large and small will be liberated to invest, innovate, and take part in one of the most exciting technological revolutions in modern history. It's so big, it's, I think, as big as you can get. Pioneers.
I'm sorry, did you say as big as you can get? What's bigger? Biggest? As big as you can get? Yeah. And so, this is great. What's happening? So what happened on that Clarity Act like thing on 513 was like Elizabeth Warren was like going off, right? She was going full Karen, full crazy psycho, like we can't pass this. But like now there's a break. The Democrat, the Democrats always stick together, right? No matter what. But we've like broken this up. We've actually broken this up. So here's a Democrat senator from Maryland talking to digital revolution. I was like, holy shit. Maybe she watches Rugpull.
Senator Also Brooks.
I'd like to say a few words on the bill. The digital revolution is upon us, and it has presented a clear opportunity to support small businesses, generate wealth, and I believe spur innovation. And the truth is this digital revolution is happening with us or without us. Whether or not we regulate it to create the rules of the road or not, it is here. I have a 20-year-old daughter, and she and her peers have made it abundantly clear to me that they are interested in this innovation, that they believe that the digital revolution is important, and they want not only to be able to participate in it safely, but they want what every American wants: true and growing economic opportunity, the opportunity to become wealthy, to have generational wealth. And so that is why I am at the table. I've been in negotiations for over 9 months working toward regulating digital assets in a way that protects consumers and reduces the risk of deposit flight while still allowing innovation to happen. I have negotiated in good faith with colleagues on both sides of the aisle, and I want to thank them so much for all of their hard work. And in recognition of that good faith, I have voted yes to advance the bill today. Now, I want to be abundantly clear. My vote today is a vote to keep working in good faith. It does not mean that I'll be voting for the passage of the Clarity Act on the floor, because we still have so much work to do. I'm aware that we need to find a workable way to address law enforcement's concerns about financial crimes. I'm a former prosecutor, and I know how important this is. We also need to incorporate an ethics agreement that would apply not only to the president and vice president, but to all of us. The American people, especially my constituents, expect that from us. And we need to work with our colleagues on the Agriculture Committee on their product, which still needs work. I'll keep working with my colleagues to get this done. Americans from every background and every community deserve to benefit financially from this digital revolution and to be protected from the risks that come with it. If we don't act, we'll get left behind. And I simply will not let that happen. Thank you.
Mr. Chair. I think Senator Hagerty.
How many times did you say digital revolution? I don't know. She probably said it like at least 5 or 6 times. Wonder where she got that from, right? What else? Yeah, Jason talking to who's he talking to here? The Commerce Secretary? Oh, David Sachs, right? And it's funny because Jason is a total Zionist, right? And he's like, hey, how about like just a little tax on crypto? Like just a little one, like really like, small, just a little tax, right? Because the Zionists, right, the parasites, have to feed off of other people's energy. They can't all be required to create value for themselves. That's why they treat us like goyim. That's why we are the goy. We're the goy, right? We're literally cattle. We're less than human. So why would they have to all work for value? That doesn't make sense to them. Watch this exchange.
I had a very simple suggestion for this, which I'll float up the flagpole here and see what you think. We've talked about it on previous all-ins before you were on it. How about a simple crypto tax? Crypto wants to be legal. You're the crypto czar. Crypto wants to be regulated. They want the rules. They want the rails. Simple suggestion from your bestie. Why don't we charge every transaction in the United States 0.01%, just about 1 bit in that native currency? So you want to trade some Solana for Ethereum, for XRP, whatever, put in whatever names you want there. The government says, hey, you want to have a great, vibrant system here? We're going to need to take just the most modest of taxes, de minimis, in fact, in the native crypto and put it in the stockpile. This seems to me like a very
That's always
easy
how
win.
Taxes start, is that they're described as being very modest. When the income tax started, it only applied to like 1,000 Americans.
Yes.
And the legislators swore up and down that it would never be applied to middle-class people. So I don't particularly like the idea of new taxes, even if it's promised that they just won't affect people very much. That sounds burdensome to me. But look, we have...
This is very easy. Just a very simple tax to the stockpile. Just very easy. He's like, no, go eat a bag of dicks. He's like, So Jason, shout out to you and your gay Zionist taxing asshole. Go eat a bag. I hope we send you off I hope Elon sends you off in a starship and just it never comes back. We don't need people like you. Like, what's that song? Gonna send them to outer space to find another race. Right? That's like, we should gather up all space to find another race. Pack them up. Pack up all the Zionist crooks like that guy. Send them off, Elon. Get them all on one starship. Maybe you can fit them in just one payload, actually. I'd support that. I would donate some sats to send them to outer space, to send the parasites to outer space to find another race. All right. What else do we got here? Paparo talking about the U.S. government running a node. I had to, of course, talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's hear the clip.
Admiral Paparo, yesterday you testified that Bitcoin held potential as a tool for national security. Recent research from the Bitcoin Policy Institute estimates China has approximately 194,000 Bitcoins, while the United States has approximately 328,000 Bitcoins. In this era of digital competition, would it be to our strategic advantage to maintain a lead in this regard as we do with other strategic resources like gold and oil?
Sir, our interest in Bitcoin is as a tool of cryptography, a blockchain, and reusable proof of work as an additional tool to secure networks and to project power. And so I think this protocol is here to stay. I think the computer science of it has direct implications for the projection of power, not financial, but from a computer science standpoint, from the securing of networks. And so I am supportive of those applications. All instruments of national power are important, but from the military application standpoint, my interest in Bitcoin is as a computer science tool as projection of power.
I appreciate that. I agree with you. And I'd also like to hear your thoughts on monetary competition over the coming decades. What role does Bitcoin play in spreading digital property rights?
Well, people use Bitcoin today, right now, to protect their own intellectual property. And that's the reusable proof of work protocol that's combined with blockchain for accountability and cryptography for security. And so that's the role that I see for it. I see direct national security implications, and then I'm supportive for anything that maintains our own dollar dominance worldwide.
I appreciate that. Do you think we're adequately prepared to counter China's strategic direction regarding digital assets?
I think that our recent act with the Genius Act is a great step forward that moves us in that direction.
And lastly, I'll ask you, as we continue to craft the NDAA, what authorities and resources does INDOPACOM need to address as respects the national security dimensions of digital assets?
Presently, we're in experimentation, so I'll give you a deeper look into that. Presently, we have a node on the Bitcoin network right now. We're not mining Bitcoin. We're using it to monitor, and we're doing a number of operational tests to secure and protect networks using the Bitcoin protocol.
I appreciate that, Admiral. Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
There you go. Admiral Paparo talking to power projection, talking national security. This is also stupid at this point. Like, I don't know how much more clear it can be, right? Here's Hegseth.
Do you share the opinion that Bitcoin is a tool to project power? And are there any department-wide initiatives to ensure the U.S. secures a strategic advantage in Bitcoin and combats China's digital authoritarianism?
I guess my short answer would be yes and yes. Long an enthusiast of Bitcoin and crypto potential, and a lot of the things we're doing, enabling it or defeating it, are classified efforts that are ongoing inside our department, which I do provide us a lot of leverage in a lot of different scenarios.
Key sentence there: enabling it or defeating it. Enabling it, hash power. Defeating it, more hash power. Like both are like, you know, there's no way to come up with any other scenario. And so either way you put it, it equals more hash power, more Satoshis, right? That's pretty funny because in that actual framing in that sentence, by the way, pointed that out. Like the only way to defeat it is more hash power. So you it's like a win-win, right? There's no like losing situation there. Kind of funny, actually. Let's see, what else do we got? I'll play a couple inning clips. We, of course, got to go to the rug pulls of the week. And of course, we've got the Q-Tard Doomers. This time, Anon 55. So many people complaining about views. I couldn't care less. The difference is why I'm here. I've woken up a lot of people than I thought I would. I reached more people than I ever imagined. My count could fall off and I could be cool with it. I don't do this for money. I don't do this for attention. I don't get anything out of it. Don't get me wrong. The love and support from patrons is humbling. Anyways, I've honestly hit a point where I feel stuck. I don't want to do this shit anymore, but I can't quit till it's over. I want this world to be better for my daughter. I put too much time in this close. Patriots built me up for a reason. I have to use the platform I've been given. This wasn't supposed to end up being a rant. Oh well. And so he's obviously doesn't know what's going on. And beer at the parade. It's been blown. Not for all of us, actually. We've had some connections here. And I responded to this guy, but this guy is a Bitcoin hater. And so he's gonna just die of depression. Fumble the 1 yard line, you know? And here's me giving you the bridge, the path with all the research that is all open source that you can verify on the time chain. Nobody cares, man. Nobody cares. Nobody fucking cares. All right. Trump, thank you for the pardon. Trump got an IRS pardon. By the way, he got 1.776 I think million or billion to pay for other people's cases from abuse of the IRS. So he also gets a pardon from any previous tax issues or any future tax. By the way, for him and his family, not just him. So he can launch any shitcoin in the world now, and he's good. So all you shitcoiners or Bitcoin maxis that are upset, Trump just kind of told you to go eat a bag. So put that one in the win category for Trump as well. By the way, in case you didn't know, there is no current or permanent IRS commissioner, formal director, head of the IRS, whatever you want to put it. The position has been vacant since March 6, 2026, since Scott Bessent And so that's interesting. There's nobody there. Nobody. Here you are paying taxes to AI paper senders. That's it. You think there's like actual people mailing those envelopes to you? I think it's machines. You're being controlled by a machine. They're not coming to bust down your door. There's nobody there, man. So that's a rug. We had Michael Blurry, who doesn't understand, why to tokenize. So he's an idiot. He's the guy that actually called out the Big Short. And so to understand that our financial system is ran through dark pools and naked short selling, tokenization, of course, he doesn't get either. He doesn't get Bitcoin. So he's a moron. Fed at forfeiture. I love this one. So this is a new little interesting image on the U.S. debt clock site, which I thought was pretty cool. Charities coming to fruition. Regarding the OpenAI case, the judge and jury never actually ruled on the merits of the case, just on a calendar technicality. There's no question to anyone following the case in detail that Altman and Brockman did in fact enrich themselves by stealing a charity. Wait until everyone figures out that charity is just legalized precedent for looting the goyim. So yeah, and that's just what happened with the Cars for Kids. They've been banning. By the way, I still know that jingle from being a child. That's how programmed we are. I still remember the 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car to dude. Why do I still know that stupid fucking jingle? The Zionists programmed it into me, man. I didn't know any better. How was I supposed to know? There was just some cute kids on a TV commercial. Why should I trust that? Because you don't deserve to trust humans. They are apex predators. Don't trust them. Don't do it. So yeah, a couple more videos, and I think we're on our way out here. By the way, all the frogs that came to Vegas, love you guys. Here's a quick picture of everybody, right? We had Patrick, we had David, we had Evan, right? We had the whole crew show up. Okay. Love you guys. Our numbers going to get bigger next year. And we're taking over. Wear them to GART too. If you're coming to GART, let's start rocking those shirts. That's the only shirt I'm rocking. Maybe I'll bring the frog shirt too, but I like this one better for now. We're in the 250th, right? Maybe next year we'll start wearing the frog shirts again. What else? Here's my rant. Actually, I'll play it. I'm going to play the Indian clips now. So I'll play a couple clips on the way out. I'm on Roxham TV every 2 weeks now on Thursday mornings. And again, I'll be back next month probably. So we'll do once a month. And I don't really feel the need to do this once a week. We packed a lot in here, guys. So chill out, come hang out with us in Telegram chat. I'm on X. Leave some comments, guys. Hook us up with some comments. Leave a shade of lay down below. Love you guys. Happy Memorial Day. Be safe out there. And yeah, shade of lay.
And we're seeing it already around the world.
Yeah, I mean, this country was funded by tariffs from 1776 to 1913. You know what was created in 1913? The Federal Reserve and the IRS. Shocker, right? And if you go back even to the 80s, where Ronald Reagan, Executive Order 12369, the Grace Commission, back then they proved 0% of your federal income tax dollars went to any public service or public good. It all went to paying interest on the debt. So you're all goyim, you're all tax slaves in this system. There's no way out of it. The only way is to opt out. And if enough of us do it, we only need about 3.51% of the population, and it's a DDoS attack on their enforcement bureaucracy. You can't arrest every single one of us. You can't send the military to all of our houses to take our seed phrases. Okay, and so this is the revolution. This is digital violence. This is the moral high ground saying, no, I no longer support the exploitation of my energy to do things that are against my morality.
Well, guys, we're coming up to the end of it.
The crypto revolution has absolutely fractured the Democrat Party, because there actually is some decent Democrats that do want freedom, sovereignty, and abundance for their own constituents. And so when you reveal, right, when you pull the mask off of these, central bank whores, there actually are some decent people out there that are, want a better future. And so it's kind of interesting to see that dynamic shift right now.
Yeah. And how do you guys feel like, the last election with Trump, obviously digital assets were a big talking point. There was a big part of the crypto community that I think helped Trump get back into office. Do you think it's now we're at a point where the Democrats really have to start appealing to that crowd as well, especially with midterms coming up? Like, it's not something they can seemingly ignore and expect any kind of success moving forward, right?
We've had the AARP come in.
Yeah, look, the crypto boys, the crypto industry, and that's why Trump has cast such a wide net, right? Bitcoin maxis give him such a hard time, but like he was coalescing, right? The biggest crypto army out there to get as many votes as possible, right? To essentially break the backs of the Democrat Party, but essentially also Trump is like onboarding millions of people, and I know, Hank, me and you go back and forth on this, but like, imagine a young kid buys a little bit of Trump coin, buys a little bit of Ethereum, buys a little bit of Bitcoin. Like that's how I learned. I bought it. I bought every shit coin out there, and until I finally realized, oh shit, this is all junk, but Bitcoin's a real deal. And so it's not. The people that are meant to find it will eventually find it, but they need an on-ramp. They need some encouragement to get on board. And Trump has provided this unbelievable on-ramp to millions of people. And if they don't do their homework and don't figure it out, well, that's not Trump's fault. He got them on the playing field in the first place. And so if they don't do their homework, if they're not an aggressive learner, then they're just going to get rug pulled. But it's better than getting rug pulled by the banks. It's been going on for a century. And so he's at least getting...
Freedom message loud and clear intent. The Strait of Hormuz represents. Strait is open. Strait is closed. Strait is open. Strait is closed.
I believe in you. No, seriously. This video, if you're seeing it, is a sign from the cosmos. A sign from the universe that whatever you're thinking of doing, that crazy idea everyone tells you not to try, you should try. Think of all the videos on the internet. Why would you see this particular one at this particular time? There's no such thing as coincidence. We live in a video game. It's a simulation. The entire simulation exists only for you. Everybody else is just a side character. I'm a character, and I've been sent here to let you know that if you take the chance and you do your best, you're going to pull it off. I'm a character in the video game, the wise old sage who's standing in the corner who says, young warrior, you can get this done. It'll be a long and difficult journey, but I believe in you, and you have the skills to pull it off. I believe in you 100%. Whatever you're thinking of doing, you should go and do. There are so many people with worse ideas, with less talent, less work ethic than you who have pulled off miracles, and you can do it too. So this is a message from the top G to whoever is watching this video. You specifically. Not to everyone, to you. This message is only to you. The entire simulation exists for you. You need to go and try.
Chardonnay, my friends.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media.